Hello and welcome to So Farscape,
A fun-filled Farscape fan cast by a fervent fan
and a frankly fascinated first-timer.
And you've just heard the new theme tune for our fun-filled little podcast, thanks to our good friend Lee.
It sounds fantastic. I love those little twists that she put in on the traditional Overture 1812.
I know, it's so fantastic, and it was appropriate for this season. Thank you once again, the Lee. We'll put some credits in the show notes. She's Lee Writes Songs. She previously graced us with a piano rendition of the season 1 theme for Farscape. So, I mean, I've seen the show before, so I know that in season 3 it gets a new theme tune.
Yes, I know. I actually didn't notice the new theme tune. I did notice the new opening credits.
Really? You didn't even... Oh, wow. Okay, well, you have something
I mean, we didn't have the I suppose. So, yes, I guess I missed that. I guess I was so blown out by the new voiceover and the new intro video that I didn't quite notice the music. But
yeah, well, we have a lot to talk about. Actually, viewers at home, we treated ourselves to a little longer recap than we usually have. So while the episode starts out, and we're talking about Season 3, Episode 1, Season of Death, with a previously on Farscape, we treated ourselves to a little extra called Farscape Undressed.
Hi, my name is Ben Browder, and I'd like to welcome you to this special presentation, Farscape. What the frell is that?
Which was a sort of a clip show hosted by Ben Browder and Claudia Black and Lani Tupu and Jonathan Hardy. Almost forgot his name there.
yes, I was hoping that we'd see Virginia Hayes either, probably actually without her makeup as Zhaan, but we didn't get to see that. I was a little bit disappointed in that, but other than that, it was a fantastic recap of season 1 and 2.
Yes, especially with, I was going to say John Crichton, Ben Browder and Claudia Black just eye-frelling each other.
Yes, they had some time.
Really
they had some trouble trying to decide whether they were or were not in or out of character.
I know.
They kind of kept fading back and forth between that, which added a very fun dynamic.
So this was an extra that was produced by the Sci-Fi Channel and aired just before season 3 aired. Actually, there was 2 cuts of them. One of them was aired before season 3 aired, and in that one, Claudia Black didn't appear until right at the very end.
Oh?
Lordy, Miss Claudia.
Well, sort of preserving the idea that, she died at the end of season 2.
Right,
and
yes.
Like, we all think that she's just dead, right? None of us think that she's coming back, right? And then they made a different cut of it where she shows up right at the start because obviously you want to see more of Claudia Black and their fantastic chemistry.
All right, so there's a little chemistry between them.
Chemistry. You don't want to admit it, do you? They are meant for each other.
Well worth a watch, especially if you're doing a rewatch of Farscape to keep up with the show, or if you're watching for as a first timer, go ahead, see it.
I wonder how many people came into Farscape with that, saw Farscape Undressed first, then jumped in the 3rd season.
I mean, it gives you everything you need to know to get up to speed. It introduces all the characters, shows you that a lot has already happened.
Wait, do you remember how it ended?
Doesn't matter how it ended.
And a lot of fun sound bites that I'm going to have get a lot of mileage out of, I think.
I think what people really want to know about is all the...
Cool things.
Exactly.
So, this week's episode is the beginning of Season 3, the Season of Death, Part 2. I probably was not supposed to see that, but I got given away at the end of the episode.
We talked about that. So it's Part 2, and then technically, Dimey Dichotomy was Part 1.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah, but that's not how they were filmed or written. This is another one of those cases where David Kemper writes an ending to a series and then leaves it up to Ricky Manning. You tidy it up. You start the next one.
So, yes, in this week's episode, a wraith goes dumpster diving, 2 brats cook up trouble, and everyone go try an MLT because Miracle Max was right about everything. Thank you, Jenna.
I don't know what an MLT is.
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, a BLT is a bacon, lettuce, and tomato, so an MLT is a...
Bacon, lettuce, and tomato.
Miracle, lettuce, and tomato.
What's Miracle Max?
Miracle, isn't that like... No, that's Miracle Whip. I was thinking of some sort of sandwich bread.
Oh, wait, is it maybe a wrestler?
Oh, that could be. I don't know.
Yeah, because this is the episode that introduces Can I Get a Hell Yeah? which is Stone Cold Steve Austin's signature shout out.
Ah, okay. That went so far over my head I didn't even see the contrail.
Multiple people get pieces of several other people's minds. Ooh, very good. A local works for everyone but can't put his finger on the problem.
Ew.
2 people make the ultimate sacrifice. 2 other people make the ultimate questionable relationship move. And there is 1 explosion. Thanks, Horsebird.
Very succinct. I can't.
Wow, they are so good at this. Once again, if you want to submit your own fantastic synopsis for an upcoming episode, you can do so at sofarscape.com/submit. Don't hesitate. And bring your A game. There is a lot of fierce competition now.
How long was the gap between season 2 and season 3 for people who were actually watching this live when it originally came out?
Ooh, that sort of depends whether you were in the US or the UK.
Mm-hmm.
So the season 2 finale aired first in the UK in December, and then in January in the US, Americans had to wait a little longer. But then that got flipped for the arrival of season 3, which started in March in the US and August in the UK. So the US had 3 months to wait, and it was a full 8 months, 9 months almost, for the UK.
Oh, wow. Because that means that between the end of season 2 and the beginning of season 3, only 3 months before the first episode aired. So they must have, pretty much at the moment that the between airing, there's of course a difference between airing and filming. Yeah,
and there was a bit of a gap. We did another greatest hiatus before the last 4 episodes of season 2. So they'd sometimes they'd already be filming season 3 while season 2 was still set to finish.
Yeah,
and as always with Farscape, it was another very stressful transition. Like Dave Elsey talked about how they had to box up the entire workshop and reset it from scratch because they thought that the Sydney Olympics were going to take over Homebush Bay, which I think wound up not happening. But so that made it another scramble. The staffing was always a problem because they'd rotate quite quickly through the teams for makeup. And apparently, every year there was a new team for Dargo, and that's why he never looks the same. Nor does Rigel. Rigel also got a new skin and a new little paint job.
Yeah,
if you notice that. Actually, you saw that most in Farscape Undressed, where he gets a close up.
Call that a close up? Ah, too close. Amateurs.
It's very fun to see the undressed part because then you can see Rigel's development very strongly.
Yeah.
How at the beginning he's much more frazzled and skinnier, and he gets a little bit fatter over. I mean, that makes sense, with his eating habits and the fact that he used to be on a prison ship. You'd think that he hardly gets as much to eat as he would like to have. So it makes sense that he actually gets a little bit fatter once that harsh regime is no longer applicable to him.
Oh, that's so cool! He gets a nice sort of green blush as well. So
he does go more from grey to green. Yes, very much.
He's had a nice little peel.
Maybe he molted. Do amphibians molt?
I don't know that they do. I mean, they have the larval stage.
Yeah.
And then I don't know.
You're aquatic. What's your problem?
So we open with quite a long previously on Farscape recap, which is mostly,
Well, we've seen Farscape Undressed, so
no, but I'm talking about the actual episode. But it's all focused on Dichotomy and not on the previous 2 seasons entirely.
And we open back up on this ice planet, and everyone's still in the same situation. Which has to be explained again. So people who haven't seen Farscape Undressed and didn't see the previously on still see every character phoning Pilot to just deliver some exposition by asking him questions. He's so annoyed.
I love how exasperated he's like, is there any no news in it? No, I already told you, if there's any new news, I will let you know the micro to get it. And everybody does that, and he gets more and more agitated.
There's still no communication from the planet.
I would have told you if there were.
The micro, do you hear anything, Pilot?
We should be down there at Crichton's side.
John did not want to say. We must respect that.
Yes, Zhaan.
Pilot, I remind you that we shouldn't stay any longer than necessary.
We know that, Grace.
Pilot, any news?
Nothing.
Pilot, have you heard anything?
No! When I know something, you'll know it. Until then, leave me alone.
Is he always like that?
Yes, but if Scorpius finds it, yes, I know. I told you that.
Yes. Which is a great way of informing the viewer in a story-wise way and still making it entertaining. It's like you have to explain these things and tell these things rather than assume that they know.
Get you where you are, because we've got Crichton with his brain exposed and the chip stolen and diagnosed and Tokot dead. They've got Grunchlk being held at gunpoint by Bracca. Talon and Krace are orbiting and watching out for Scorpius' return, who they don't know has actually already returned because it was Scorpius that stole the chip.
They don't know. They still don't know this. So I love this opening when the story actually starts. Bracca and Grunchlk, this little discussion between them. It's like, oh, why were you running? Well, you were chasing me. Basically, that was the. So why do you bring the guns? That was a precaution. Well, I was just hiding as a precaution. It's like I thought that was amazing.
So go on, son, put your precautions away and pay me what we agreed.
Because Grunchlk is a backstabber who had been paid in advance by Scorpius to alert them in case, Moya showed up. Yeah. Showing some incredible foresight, which we later find out he's not the only one who has that kind of foresight.
And Grunchlk is the kind of person who is happy to take money from everybody and then decide whom he's going to be loyal to and what is going to work out in his best interests in the long run.
Yeah, you can see why he and Rigel got along.
Yes, totally.
That's 3 very small stones.
Much to Rigel's loss in the end, as it turns out, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, everyone, including Scorpius, is a bit in dire straits because Scorpius arrived with a very small force, and he realizes he's actually quite vulnerable until the command carrier arrives.
Yes, because the command carrier isn't here. Talon is orbiting, and Talon can take care of anything that shows up, even a command carrier. It gets kind of implied that it's like he's not really worried about a command carrier. It's like you might not be able to outgun it, but you can certainly outrun it if need to.
Yep. I mean, teenagers are known for knowing their limits, right?
Yes, and we can clearly see that between Shana and Jothi later in this episode as well.
Oh my God, we're going to have to talk about that.
But yes,
Scorpius
helps himself to some sashimi.
Oh my God, this was, hot. Kind of.
I mean, it's like hot in the same...
up Scorpius kind of way, because he takes the chip out and he talks about this priceless information, and then poor John, he's going to be so lonely.
He kind of suckles the remaining bit of John's brain off that's still clinging to the chip, and he just savors it like a Dutchman eats a herring when it's for the first time in season. Raw off the tail.
Yes, that's exactly right. Oh wow, I could really go for some brine herring.
Oh yes.
See, I like him late in the season.
Oh.
Right? When they've had some real chance to sort of brine
up, and then you have a little bit of onion and pickle with them. Or don't you do... Are you with the onion and pickle?
I am. Yeah. I am. I like the pickle as a starter and a finisher.
Okay.
I don't really do it in the middle, but for the rest, it's diced onion all the way.
I do it as a palate cleanser in the middle.
Oh, like a bit of sushi ginger.
Yes. Yeah. So.
That's a good idea.
To people from abroad who are not familiar with Dutch culinary customs, one of the things we do here is the new herring, which is traditionally eaten after it's been cleaned by holding it up by the tail and then just dangling it over your mouth and taking a big bite out of it.
Eat it like a seagull.
Yeah, and it's sometimes served with raw onion and a sliced pickle. So
it's absolutely
fantastic.
Go on, have a chew. It's delicious. No, not that bit. It's got to rot a bit more. Here, try this.
No, I think I'll pass.
Anyway,
yes, I could really relate to him sort of really savouring this little bit of Now, a good cliffhanger seems unresolvable, right? And there is a bit of a tradition to then show that, oh no, it wasn't unresolvable after all. Which is the case here when it turns out that Tokot, who got breathed in the nose and mouth, which should be lethal.
Even the Siljot bacteria in your beautiful hair would kill him if he got it in his nose and his mouth at the same time.
They said it was lethal. They didn't say at what term it was going to be lethal.
That's fair.
Which is something that I will be bringing back up again towards the end of this episode. But it's another subversion of the trope when someone goes, and then falls over. That doesn't mean they're dead.
Yes. I mean, not to go Farscape again, as Crimson has named it, but yes, this is some great first aid advice. You can just never assume someone's dead. Yeah. Certainly in Farscape. But so I like that in the meantime, Ricky Manning constructed it to heap up extra new peril.
Right.
And one of them is like Scorpius is still there. Scorpius is actually in danger.
Yes.
And Harvey is still there.
Yes. John goes back to the jetty out in the water where Harvey is still around. And Harvey is also kind of like,
miffed.
Well, bugger that. It's like, I'm still here. Frel this, I should say.
This is intolerable for both of us. End it, John. Free us from one another. Scorpius has beaten you. Aeryn's son is dead. Your power of speech is gone. The only one you'll ever talk to again is me. Is that how you want to live?
Because, even though the chip's gone, Harvey is still there, some sort of neural bleed over, and he considers it intolerable. And he says, well, Crichton, you're just going to have to die.
It's you or me, yeah. It's not like he's going to try and take over. He's just like, you're going to have to die because I can't live like this. Which is an interesting viewpoint to have for some sort of construct which is designed to fret out information. I guess he's reached the end of his programming and now it's just like, okay, time to go.
Yeah, not having a purpose must be torture. Sort of like Mr. Meeseeks in that really grim episode of Rick and Morty. Yeah, that one. The one grim episode of Rick and Morty.
Yeah, they only did one, fortunately.
Scorpius is interrupted.
Sir! Officer Cobran, I ordered you to remain with the Marauder.
Yes, sir.
By a new hotshot. Lieutenant Cobran wanders in, and you immediately sort of see Braca bristling at the younger model.
Oh, yes. Now that you mention it, I kind of got that, yes.
Yeah, right. I was the special one. And then this hotshot interrupts Braca with more relevant information talking about the command carrier, that the battle was successful.
Yes, but it took longer than we expected, so it'll be another 5 Arns before they get here. And Scorpius is like, well, that's a bunch of Dren. Now we're going to be stuck here, and we've got Talon circling, so we can't leave. And these people who are here still in the base might notice that we're here, because they're still operating under secrecy.
Yep.
Very much un-Scorpius, who tends to like to barge in and announce himself in a grand vision. But
see, that's usually because he has overwhelming force with him. And this time, he could only fit as many troops as would fit into a Marauder, which is apparently not enough to really, to feel safe against people who blew up a shadow depository.
Yeah, so we've seen a squad from a Marauder, which was 6 people.
5-man crew, highest level of training, success measured by body count.
So I think it's a fair assumption that they can hold about that many people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
Back in season 1, when the Marauder came aboard, there was I think it was a squad of 6 people. And
it happened twice, actually. Yeah, you had the PK like an Egyptian.
Yes. I do remember you loved their call. I was the one who loved it. You were
That's right. That's right. That was how that
The guy liner.
Oh, yeah. Of all people, it's Rigel who discovers Crichton in despair and Tokot lying dying on the floor of his surgery. He radios for help. Very good. First aid. One of the first things that you should do when you see someone in trouble, call for help, and then provides a CPR, which was apparently discussed over the comms.
I've done everything you told me. Turned on the bioneutralizer, turned off the see-through skull machine. Enough is enough.
Which was apparently the most uncomfortable Matt Newton has ever been, because you have Tokot lying on the floor of this illuminated surgery, and you have Rigel hovering over him, providing CPR, and then people sort of crowding around him. And a whole-ass puppeteer had to just be somewhere. They couldn't cut a hole in the ground because then the lights would go out.
Oh, dear,
obviously, they couldn't cut a hole into the diagnosan, so he had to sort of really contort himself.
So I kind of noticed that, I think we talked about this before, that Rigel breathes through his nose. And only... Because I noticed that when he was giving CPR, he had his face down all the way, like he was using his nose to breathe into Tokat's mouth.
Wow. Oh, wow, that makes a lot of sense. I hadn't even seen that.
So, how are we going to lead into this? Grunchlk and Scorpius.
Treaty of Mintaka 4.
Yeah.
We've got to sort of streamline it because we've got a lot of things going on. On Moya, let's start with that one. Dargo tells Chiana and Jothi to stay put, even though they want to help.
We'll go with you.
No, I need you to stay here with Moya. Scorpius' command carrier could arrive any microt. If it does, I want you to starburst away immediately.
Polly can look after Moya.
Please, what I tell you.
Sick of this!
He's being his usual commanding self, trying to tell people what to do it his way. And both of them are going immediately into teenage rebellion mode, going well, you can't tell me what to do, and you're not, oh, well, you are my dad. Well, in Shana's case, not my dad, but yeah.
You're not my dad /daddy. which results in them hanging out in the kitchen.
Yeah,
and
I guess we'll go cook. Which makes sense. Like when you're upset, just go cook some food. It'll help.
I mean, I can relate to that. I think a lot of us can. But too many cooks spoiled the brats.
Ooh.
Oh,
well,
no.
I think the brats were already pretty spoiled here. But
I don't think that counts for Jothi, considering the life that he has had.
Good point. But, well, I mean, there's having been spoiled and being spoiled. There's a difference.
He offers her some food, which she says she's not interested in.
Come on, it'll put color in your cheek. Come on, we'll die of boredom. But we'll be well fed.
And he hands it to her, feeds it to her. She bites at his finger.
Yes, and he goes like, "What are you about?" And then like a little bit of tussle and a little bit of struggle, and then there's some off-camera. I assume it's got some off-camera mivant groping that's going on because they sure react, both of them, like that's what's going on.
Yeah,
it kind of slows down a little, and it turns a little bit more grindy than restly.
I do as I please. Okay. Do whatever you want.
And then it fades to black. And that only means one thing on network television. And then we see them later on, like, cleaning up. And
yes.
Really,
Rigel almost walks in on them, I suppose. Just like, he's just missed it.
And they're both trying to be so casual about it, especially Chiana, who is... I mean, you're better than this. Well, you've lied worse than this before.
Yeah, well, it starts with them saying that, like, oh, if Dargo finds out, he's going to kill us.
Yeah.
Yes, and then Rigel comes in and they go like, oh, for what? And it's like, oh, yes, we accidentally blew up the pot because we were trying to cook some sort of food.
He was so worried about that.
Yes.
Right. Exploding crockery? No.
He is easily distracted, though, when he's given a big tray of food, which he will go consume somewhere else where there's no danger of exploding crockery.
Very good. And phew, we got away with it.
Yes.
Until at the very end, we see them serving that food that they've made to Dargo, while Rigel compliments them. Oh.
All the time you two spent in here was ultimately productive.
And Dargo
goes completely over his head.
2 excellent cooks. I couldn't be luckier.
Pictures of like sugar plums and a farm where he'll work all day and then come home to a great meal cooked by his son and his lover.
Yes. Yeah. Season of death. Meanwhile, Grunchlk is being talked to by Scorpius.
He says, well, you've got to wait until your command carrier is here.
Oh, when they get here, let me speak to him. I'll stall him, send him away, whatever you want.
I'll just say whatever you want. And Scorpius says,
yes, in fact you will. Stabs him in the neck with some sort of mental probe and uses the same control device that he used to dive into John's brain to puppeteer Grunchlk.
Puppeteering on Farscape?
Yeah.
Unheard of.
I love the scene where he's kind of attuning himself to Grunchlk.
Yes.
And he's like moving around and hand. So I'm wondering how they shot that. I can only suppose that behind the camera there was someone else standing who was doing the movements, which they both
mirrored.
Were trying to mirror. Because the timing. Cause,
yes, there's absolutely no lag.
Yeah, there's no lag. And Scorpius is clearly not looking at what Grunchlk is doing. So I can only imagine that both of them were looking at a third person and mirroring them.
Oh, yeah, that would be great. Then again, I mean, both Wayne Pygram and Hugh Keys-Byrne, they have, like, a legacy in theatre and film.
Yeah.
And I know that these kind of mirror scenes, they occur in some plays. I actually wrote one for my for the high school play from my last year. I wrote and directed that, and I was very proud. And that also involved like a mirror scene of 2 actors playing the same character, meeting one another, and having to sort of mirror one another. And that just takes like a bunch of rehearsals, right? You sort of work it out together, this many breaths, and then we're going to do that. I wonder if they took it as a point of pride. No, we're just going to take 20 minutes in the trailer and rehearse this. We don't need a clever person's board, as it's called. But yeah, it's so well done. Like lifting up his hand and wiggling his little
spreading his
little
fingers.
piggies.
And, it works really well. It's fantastically done. So the crew is meanwhile landed back on the planet, rushes into the theater where Zhaan takes over the CPR that Rigel has been performing.
Reviving Tokot, who says, Scorpius!
Yes.
And now we all know. Suddenly, like, the secrecy is gone. I think Dargo calls up to Crace to let them know.
Talon and I will adjust our orbit for maximum scan.
hopefully catch the command carrier or any marauders. So they still don't know that there's a marauder.
They don't know. Well, They only know that Scorpius has arrived here. So,
although I think Crace actually works that out. It's like, okay, so then they have to have arrived on a marauder flight.
That's right. Yes.
Does he mention flying a stealth profile, or does that come from Scorpius first?
Mintaka 4, that's correct. So he knows that the command carrier could never have arrived without them detecting it, so it must be either a prowler or a marauder on a stealth trajectory. That's the only way that he could have arrived there without them noticing.
I also finally figured out what I thought Grunchlk reminds me of. I don't know where it's from, but he looks and acts like a roadie. Like someone kind of sleazy, dope-smoking roadie.
That is mean toward roadies, but I know what you're talking about. He's the kind of person who says yes to whatever the managers are demanding, and then just
does whatever he needs to do or whatever he wants to do.
He gets a whole list of demands that he knows are not possible to meet, but he says yes anyway. We're going to do it, and then he figures out which of those are actually going to get done because he knows which needs to be done,
which are actually important, and yeah.
All right, just dial down the suck button and turn up the reverb. He knows his environment.
Zhaan manages to revive Tokat, pulls up another mask over his face.
Yes, Tokat is he, him.
Yes.
And that's him sorted. And then he lives a long and happy life.
Yes. Until one runs into a Scarran, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, so we deal now with Treaty of Mintaka 4. He's or 3. Which one was it?
Mintaka 3? Or was it 4?
What, 3? 4?
4.
Yeah, I know, but Mintaka 3 sounds boring to me anyway.
Well, now you have me wondering about that.
It's the season. It's the
Mintaka treaty. We can even Mintaka the name of the treaty.
Okay, so there is an ethical dilemma that is very serious to Stark. It was introduced at the end of the last season, which is that all of these tissue donors that are being kept frozen, they aren't dead. They were frozen a microt
before death, yes.
And
none of them will survive being revived.
And Stark considers this a horror. It turns out he can actually hear them.
Or at least he claims to.
Their souls are crying out, screaming out in pain.
No pain.
I can hear them. Effectively dead. That isn't death at all.
To the point that the donor that was going to be used to repair Jon's brain, Stark actually kills him. Oh, yeah, with a handy kill shot that was just lying around because that's the one that Zhaan was going to use on Jon after sharing unity with Jon and finding that he was in terrible pain and that...
Oh, yes. Yeah, I noticed that they moved away from the autopipettes, and this looks to me like one of those little air pistols that you attach to a compressor to blow air out of things, which has a little canister on the back and a little thing on the front, but I think I've got one of those lying upstairs.
Okay, well, I'll try not to overreact when I see you rushing toward a sleeping person while holding it.
Crichton wants to die.
Hold her.
No.
Zhaan, stop.
He wants to die.
Be calm.
We did skip over a fair bit because Grunchlk showed up, allowed himself to be found by Dargo, I think it is, and while under the control of Scorpius, claimed that Scorpius had already left.
Yes, he actually, Scorpius, who was puppeteering Grunchlk, shoots Grunchlk himself in the arm. Is that a way to parse that sentence?
Look, I'm with you, bud. I'm just going to support whatever you do.
And it's a fantastic, creepy scene. Actually, Scorpius flinches slightly when Grunchlk shoots himself in the arm. Yeah.
But so who's feeling it?
I think Scorpius a little bit.
Because there's also
we get the same scene later when basically Scorpius threatens Grunchlk by you can use your mouth in 2 ways. You can say what I want you to say.
Lack of imagination, Scorpio.
Or you can just and then he just makes Grunchlk bite off his own finger.
Yeah.
It's oh God. But and again, then Scorpius doesn't seem to react too badly to that, and only after he relinquishes control again is when Grunchlk suddenly goes oh.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Ian Watson filmed that scene twice.
Yeah.
He mentions that someone sort of whispered into his ear, hey, just cool it on the blood and whatever, because otherwise we get moved into a later time slot. And this is the season opener, so we don't want to get moved to it.
No, very good point.
But he did film it a second time that was extra gruesome, that didn't get included. But it wound up looking like there was so much blood, it was like a Monty Python sketch.
Oh, God, dear. I mean, they have a good tradition of that down south. I mean, Peter Jackson still, I believe, has the record for the greatest amount of fake blood used in any given in a scene.
Oh, was that in Bad Taste or
no, it was
The Frighteners?
I think it was The Frighteners.
Both excellent. Well, in their own way, like fantastic triumphs.
But
I love that the aliens in Bad Taste have these sort of dumpy squashed heads because they were originally designed as having cone heads, but then they needed his mum's oven to sort of set the silicone and it didn't fit, so they had to sort of crumple it down so it could fit in the oven.
Yes. Stark, who is still dressed like another Stark from a famous TV series.
What?
John Stark, all the furs and everything.
Who's John Stark?
Oh, wait.
Ned Stark.
Ned Stark.
Ned Stark from Game of Thrones.
Yes,
he has a furry pullover as well. Very good.
He's very much dressed like that.
Stark, who has stopped Zhaan from fulfilling Crichton's request to die, instead, tells John to fight and tells him,
"The chip's out. Its tendrils are dead. The scorpion in your head is merely a remnant, an impotent wraith buzzing in your ear. You are stronger than he is. Show him."
So that I thought that's very interesting because we get that fight scene between Harvey and John.
Yeah.
Whereas in the first scene, when they're talking together on the dock, John very much doesn't touch him. At one point, when he actually walks off and he kind of squeezes past him, arms raised, stomach sucked in.
Well, John, you mean?
Yeah, John actually not touching Harvey. There's in the first scene where we see them talking when he wanders off.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a very interesting contrast after he gets told that, this thing has no control over you.
He has no power over you.
Go ahead.
He has no power over you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because that's Harvey's thing. Harvey actually knows he has no power. He's just trying to convince John that he's still in charge. And so John, heavily abused and traumatized by Harvey, of course he doesn't want to touch him until he gets, I don't know, a shot of courage.
Yeah, and I thought he was going to kick him into the water, but he does give him a shove. But when he shoves him off the dock, he doesn't land in the water. He lands in a hangar, cargo bay. I'm not quite sure what it is. I didn't recognize. I think we've seen the set before, but I couldn't quite place it.
I mean, it kind of doesn't matter. It's sort of demonstrating John's control over this space.
Right, yeah.
I can make us be wherever we want to be.
We've got some big... I thought it just might have been a set that has been used in the past and had significance. There's some big, tall windows with bright lights shining through.
Yes.
And
the dumpsters.
I wouldn't call it
construction material.
I wouldn't call it a fight scene. It's just like Harvey getting beat up. It is, yeah. Harvey gets beaten up. John actually picks him up, throws him into the dumpster. He scores. He scores. Can I have a hey yeah?
Hell yeah!
Hell yeah!
Can I get a hell yeah?
And there's actually literally a soundtrack of a crowd going nuts.
Yeah, because it's his brain.
Yeah.
He can just imagine whatever.
I guess I mean, to be honest, from what we've seen of John in the past, that's probably pretty much what goes on in his brain all the time anyway.
You think he's running around just congratulating himself? He's got his own laugh track for his jokes.
He's got his own private little soundtrack going on. Yeah, that seems totally in character for John.
Oh, I love that. Harvey is especially rubbish. Even when he tries to threaten John,
he puts his arm pugilist style. Yes,
he's some kind of 1920s strong man.
Yes.
Even when he's slapped down on his back, he's sort of flailing around like an upside down turtle.
That's one way to put it. Yeah.
Or an armadillo on his back. I mean, obviously this is...
it looks like he can't get up.
And John tosses him into the dumpsters, tosses down the lid, and sort of butt stomps the lid.
Yeah. Give a good little ass grind to it.
Oh, wow. I have one failed GIF here.
Yes, I was just looking at that one.
That's just the last 3 frames of him lying on his back and sort of butt wiggling. That is going to thrill the internet when this goes live. Gosh. Oh, so Scorpius, Braca, Cobrin, and Grunchlk are all in a room, and they hear Tokot over the radio, who's sort of mumbling about, there's another automatic defrosting.
Yes.
And Grunchlk, who's apparently under his own control again, tells Scorpius, no, I'll deal with this.
Yeah.
Now, you go back and tend your patient, Doc. I'll deal with it. Doc!
And Tokos goes, just wanders over anyways, like a cat on a mission. You absolutely cannot stop them.
Despite Grunchlk very sincere attempts to keep Tokot away from this, and no, don't worry about it, don't go there. He escalates a little bit.
Yeah.
First he tries to divert Tokot, then he tries to literally tell him don't do it.
He actually cares about Tokot, it seems.
Well, or at least he cares about the outcome of the encounter that is going to go.
I'll handle it. Doc! Doc!
Because Tokot opens another one of these pods, and out comes a Scarran hand, which immediately does its heat ray, scorching and burning Tokot, and I believe this time it is actually the end of Tokot.
I mean, you never quite know, but you do see, like, they actually did, like, these cool sort of blisters that inflate on his head, and he's proper burned. Dave Elsey had some fun with that. Both of these characters, by the way, were portrayed by the same person. Thomas Holgrove.
You mentioned that he'd been in a Scarran suit before.
And Xiang, and then he was both the Scarran and the Diagnosan and killed himself. Does this count as suicide?
Ooh, well, actors.
Yeah, he was the Diagnosan in the morning and the Scarran in the afternoon, and it involved killing himself. This is Plonek. I like how every time we see a Scarran, they're a little bit different. So this is the first time we see an army Scarran. Once again, with that sort of Cenobite kind of outfit with exposed nipples. I don't know why they do that.
Yeah.
Okay,
exposed abs, exposed nipples.
That's an asymmetrical 29-pack he's got there.
Yeah.
Deep cut for our listeners.
Who turns out to have been in stasis there for quite a while, because Grunchlk, as it informs Scorpius, that this is going to take a little bit.
The Scarrans are interested in Scorpius, and they found out that he got his cooling surgery here at this medical facility.
Yes, they put a Scarran into stasis here, just in case Scorpius ever decided to show up for a checkup or something like that.
Sort of like how Scorpius bribed Grunchlk, like, if Moya shows up, then give us a call.
Right? So and this is kind of what happened, and Scorpius immediately tries to, like, accuse Grunchlk with this, and Grunchlk says, like, well, if you just, like... It's a very similar scene to the scene with Baraka in the beginning.
Ooh,
like, if you weren't chasing me, I wouldn't be running away, and in this case, he set himself a bit of a dead man switch on this stasis pod that the Scarran's in. He told him to, like, start defrosting him in 3 hours, and if Scorpius had kept his side of the bargain and just paid up and left, then he would have just, like, turned it off again, and the Scarran would have never left the stasis. He would never have even known that Scorpius was here.
But in fact, Grunchlk was going to sell the Scarran to Scorpius.
Yeah.
Right? That would have been
at least he says he would. I mean, you never know with Grunchlk. He's like... He's playing whatever side he's got, like, multiple options, and in fact I do honestly believe that he might have actually done that to Scorpius, but he's just as happy to,
like, whatever makes him money, man.
Yeah, whatever works out best for him.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I think that Scorpius even kind of, I mean, he doesn't respect Grunchlk, but he isn't offended by this.
No,
like,
because he sees
that's a decent plan.
Yeah,
it makes sense for someone to do that.
This is where we get the finger biting scene.
Yes, because at first Scorpius doesn't know that there's a Scarran about, but that's what he learns when he informs Grunchlk that I can have you eat all your little piggies.
Yes.
So a newly motivated Grunchlk goes to meet the Scarran, greets him by name, Plonek.
Plonek!
I like Scarran names.
Erathwan Plonek!
Like, they've got the sort of elegant complexity to it. Like, previously we had Sastaretsky Kargan.
You know of Sastaretsky Kargan, the Scarran emissary?
And I don't think we ever learned the name of the one that interrogated John in Won't Get Fooled Again, but this one is Erathwan Plonek, and tries to get him off Scorpius's case by saying, Scorpius is gone, but I've got something just as valuable for you. Do you know John Crichton?
Yeah.
Yes. Scorpius seems obsessed with him. We want to know why.
Why don't you ask him?
Apparently, like, Plonek was stationed after the Scarrans became aware. Yeah. Curious timing. Not exactly sure why that came about. Plonek, like a good spy, tries to authenticate the information by heat torturing Grunchlk, but...
Grunchlk is being puppeteered by Scorpius, so he kind of manages to hold out and keep the information from Plonek.
Where is Scorpius?
Scorpius isn't here.
Scorpius isn't here, I told you.
Who puts Grunchlk on ice.
Yep, freezes him in one of the pods.
Now, Cobrin has another opportunity to come in, all cocky-like, and he suggests, well, I can get us out of here. We'll
fly a stealth trajectory, I can outrun them, it'll be fine.
Sir, the carrier is now much closer. I am certain we can outrun the gunship long enough to reach it safely.
You have that much faith in your piloting skills?
My last rating was 991, sir. No active pilot rates higher.
And Braca is just fuming.
The Scorpius is like, we can make use of that. You might get your opportunity to prove your piloting skills.
He is eye-frelling that young pilot.
In a way.
Now, the arc about donors being frozen just before death comes to a head because that, it turns out, has been done to Aeryn.
Yes.
Stark, look at these indicators.
The cryosystem's activated to preserve the body until burial.
But that's not all. The cellular maintenance functions are still operating, keeping her body alive.
Why? Unless Grunchlk was intending to keep her here as a donor, I wouldn't put it past him.
Aeryn, who's been Aeronsicle this whole time, sitting in her coffin.
It kind of makes sense, especially when people get frozen in cold. You know what they say? It's like, you're not dead until you're warm and dead. It's like, if someone...
Oh, wow. They say that?
Yes. Generally speaking, if you have someone who is apparently dead from hypothermia,
right,
then it's like, okay, you're not dead until you're warm and dead. It's like they go back into...
That's a really grim thing. I mean, I kind of get what it is, but you warm them up. And
if they're a block of ice, then clearly they're dead. But if you find if someone is like with hypothermia and it looks like they're dead, and they're like and
you can't detect breath.
Yeah, exactly. They're not necessarily breathing, but they're not like below room temperature. I mean, you're never going to go below room temperature unless there's some active cooling involved. But yeah, you're not dead until you're warm and dead.
Okay, fun.
Actually, we've kind of glossed over the part where John gets his speech reinstated.
Oh, yes, that's right. I mean, a lot of stuff happened there.
You mentioned it when Stark shoots the guy with the
kill shot, essentially.
Yeah, the euthanasia gun.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what it is. And he later tells John that
was mercy. His agony was far greater than yours.
He was caught in that horrible void between life and death.
His torment was worse than
soul
yours.
unable to get on. And the doctor, before he gets killed, obviously, uses that donor fluid, brain fluid, to reactivate John's speech centers.
Actually, a chunk of brain. The brain fluid had been used previously just as a top up, but they still needed a chunk of brain from this species called Interion.
Mm-hmm.
They keep calling them Interon. It's actually spelled Interion.
Yeah,
I guess it's just a pronunciation thing.
Yeah, like aluminium.
Okay, I'm not going to relitigate that necessarily, but I'm of the camp that the person who discovered, who isolated it, called it aluminum, and even though that's stupid because everything else is an ium, when you discover something, you get to name it whatever the frell you want. Because one day it'll be our turn. One day, hey, we'll discover like a planet or an element or whatever, and then everyone is going to have to put up with whatever bulldren we come up with.
Fair point.
I'm saving myself a lot of editing by finally getting...
Yes.
Stark tries to listen for Aeryn's soul in there, but he can't hear her, and so she must be so deep that retrieving her would be impossible. And Zhaan says...
Yes, you're probably right.
And then cold cocks him.
Knocks him out and goes like, oh, I'm going to do it anyway.
She lifts his mask... because she needs his help, lets out a little bit of energy that shines on the casket, lays her hands on it,
and mind melds with, joins with Zhaan.
Yes, no, it's interesting because it seems to be a two-phase thing. The first phase is arriving at Aeryn, who seems to still be sitting in her...
ejection sheet.
Yeah, looking radiant.
Do you know who you are?
Officer Aeryn's son, Special Peacekeeper Commando, Icarian Company, Plizar Regiment. Have you come to reassign me?
I have come to take you back.
She looks like she's doing an 80s music video. I'm walking in
Well, she's kind of passed out, and it's only when Zhaan approaches is
moonlit sky.
It's more like Moonlight Shadow from...
and the moonlight shadow.
That's the one. Let's not do that one.
Was that Limahl?
No, it was... Come on, the same guy who did Amarok.
Getting farther away
Tubular
from everything
Bells.
I can help. Jean-Michel Jarre.
No, the English one.
Tubular Bells was Jean-Michel Jarre,
No,
wasn't
it wasn't.
Oh, no. Oldfield? Mike Oldfield.
Yes,
there we
thank
go.
you.
Hey, high five.
Hey.
Difficult with all these microphones in the way.
It is.
And here, Aeryn seems to be in sort of limbo where she identifies herself and asks, have you come to reassign me? And that's when Zhaan initiates...
Mind meld. Well, Zhaan first asks, like, do you know who I am? And gets like almost no response.
No.
And then you know who you are, and then she does her like standard military little thing where she just like lists off her name, company, and regiment, and then she does the mind melt or the unity, which we get the same like two heads looking at different sides thing that we saw with her and John before, where we see the same thing with the two heads looking different ways that she did with John in the past.
Beautiful effect. It's such a
it is
simple but elegant way to show that they're gradually sharing thoughts, and Aeryn sort of gradually realizes more and more what's happening. Zhaan begs her not to resist,
but Zhaan says like, I can pull you back, and Aeryn goes like, no, I can't let you do that because I know what it will cost you.
Yeah.
And Zhaan does it anyway.
Pushes her away. Zhaan falls to the ground. We haven't even mentioned that. Oh no, she doesn't have a new outfit. She's worn this cowl before, I think.
We've seen her in that before.
And then Zhaan's on the ground and she's being
get knocked out by one of the troops.
One of the Peacekeeper commandos. The other one has Stark under fire. They call for orders, and Braca relays Scorpius's will without having to be told. He's being very good little student.
Kill the Delvian.
Keep the Bannock.
Because, I mean, Scorpius had been looking for a new Bannock slave.
He wants his toy back.
Yes.
But they don't get to perform his orders because the casket bursts open and Aeryn, who was buried with Dargo's Qualta blade.
Yes, I guess it was a Chekhov's Qualta blade that we had.
Blasts them and walks out, far more collected after death than we've seen.
Yeah, she seems to be like no side effects. So there's an interesting bit about here. There's a discussion between Zhaan and Stark a little bit earlier on when they're talking about that she is dead. And Zhaan mentions like, well, she was beyond the healer's ability to bring back. Not necessarily mine, which kind of like falls into line with the dying of cold and explosion. Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Because it's like there's nothing necessarily physically wrong with you at that point. Which is like the healer?
Oh, yeah.
More of a like soul departing the body type thing that we're talking about here.
I don't know. I mean, when there's freezing, like your cells are full of water. When water freezes, it expands. That can rupture the cell walls. You know, that's.
But that only happens if you like go into actual freezing. If you start dropping below 4C.
If you follow,
as long as that doesn't start happening, I mean, physiologically you're fine.
And maybe Sebastians are better suited for dealing with heat.
We know they don't deal with heat very well, so they might deal with cold better. Yeah.
Not so Scarans.
No, we definitely see that Scarans can't get it up when it's cold outside.
A lot of us deal with that because, meanwhile, John, who has recovered from brain surgery, and Dargo, they try to leave just as the Scaran busts into the surgery.
Where the hell did that come from?
A Scaran. We have no weapons, so I suggest a tactical retreat.
They slam the door and try to find an exit because Dargo doesn't have a weapon anymore.
No, because he brought his Qualta blade, but it's like with Aeryn.
Yeah, so he suggests a tactical retreat, opens the door and yells, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
Because he hates the cold.
Yes, because like apparently the surgery has an emergency exit outside.
Like all good surgeries do. Like they have to be clean rooms with just an open door to the outside.
John offers Dargo the choice, cold or heat, freeze or fry. And
yeah, because the Scaran is using his heat ray to sort of weld through the seal of the door.
He's trying to lightsaber his way through the door. So Dargo actually has to think about that for a second. Then he goes like, freeze. It's like, all right.
And then when they're out there, John asks Dargo, okay, so what's the plan? And Dargo says,
we're going to bring him out here and see how he likes being in the cold.
And John says,
and what if he likes it?
Look.
One plan at a time.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, no, fine. I've got nothing better. Fine. I love this. I have used this line so many times when someone undermines my plans with the obvious flaw. Like, just, who says there's going to be a strong wind, guys? And he's right, because the Scaran doesn't like the cold.
No.
He can't use his heat weapon, but John and Dargo can't escape either. They're trying to get through this other door, which is frozen shut. Yeah. Oh, come on.
Dargo tries to stab him, actually breaks his knife on the Scaran's abs.
Yeah, so much for the bris knife.
Yeah. That's not the bris knife.
Isn't it?
No, it's a different one.
Oh, yes, that's just his pocket knife that he always had. Oh, that's the one that John borrowed to cut a lock off Aeryn's hair.
I think it is, yes. Meanwhile, it seems that Scorpius is making his escape aboard the Marauder.
Yeah.
And immediately getting pounced upon by Krace and Talon.
Yes, Talon. I see it. That is a vessel leaving the planet. No. A transport pod would not be attempting a stealth trajectory. Pursue.
It's so cool because, like, Krace and Talon, they're both still reeling with Aeryn's death.
Yes.
And this prospect of Scorpius going behind them, there's such a cool attitude when Krace is standing there, pursue.
Yeah, go get him, boy.
Yeah. And we can see that Cobran, like, his cockiness is justified. He flies well.
He's a good pilot. He's like flies through some random asteroids which he managed to make appear.
And once they're past the asteroid, the command carrier comes into view. It's just arrived, and he's making a beeline toward the command carrier, which is opening fire, like trusting, hopefully, Cobran to dodge their fire while taming Talon.
Krace, you destroy this ship, my command carrier will destroy you.
Possibly.
And there's a moment where, like, Krace checks with Talon and asks, are we in agreement?
Yes.
Fire!
And they blast him out of the sky and fly through the superstructure of the command carrier.
Yeah. At this point, I was like thinking, like, when the thing gets blown up, there was just like this quick blue flash across the screen, which I think was like turns out to be nothing. But
yes, it might be the cesium fuel igniting.
Yeah. Okay. So I thought that was going to be a thing.
Oh.
So here in this sheaf, you can see there's one blue little thing which looks like it could be a pod or something like that.
Like so. Yes.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
Turns out it was like an entirely different ploy.
Oh wait, no, I see what it is. It's one of the engine exhausts.
Yeah.
The engine exhausts are blue, so it must be one that's still just firing with whatever fuel remained in it.
Pilot, Scorpius is dead.
Moya confirms that the Marauder has been blown up.
Yes.
And Krace announces the end of Scorpius.
Officer Sun is avenged.
We have come a very long way since Krace was an enemy, and while there is much still between them that hasn't been forgiven, this is one area where, like, Talon and Krace felt the loss of Officer Sun just as severely as anybody there did. And I think that there's a real connection there. Even Pilot, kind, gentle Pilot, probably appreciates the revenge.
Yes. I mean, Pilot was clearly the person who was closest to Aeryn, other than John maybe, but because they had their genetic connection.
They were family.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's a weird thing to say, but of all of them, Pilot is the closest family that Aeryn had.
Yeah. Meanwhile, on the planet, more blasting has happened because Aeryn had showed up with the Qualter Blade and blown the Scarran out of the water. Well, not quite. Like, did him some damage, destroyed, did some remarkably good, accurate shooting because there were like 4 holes in his abs, like right close together. I mean, that's some
nice
good
grouping.
marksmanship, yeah.
Certainly on a moving target.
But that's not enough. However, John breaks off an icicle and sticks it right into the wound that's been opened up by Aeryn's shooting. And Scarrans don't do too well with a big block of ice stuck right into their stomach.
Oh, do you think that's it?
Yeah, that's what I figured.
I mean, there's also, like, I wouldn't do too well with a big block of anything stabbed into my stomach.
But like, it seems weird that, getting shot 4 times in more or less the same spot with a Qualter Blade is not going to do the trick, and then suddenly getting stabbed in that same area does.
Yeah, true.
I mean, I got the impression that it was the ice that did the trick.
Yeah, there is an awful lot of steam. He keels over, and he is dead. And Dargo sees Aeryn first. I mean, it's really well done. Like, they've got all this snow flying around. This was apparently a nightmare to film because,
I can imagine.
Like, fake snow is tricky. Mm-hmm. It's got to look just right. So they wind up with, like, either soap flakes or chopped up bits of, like, supermarket bin bag.
Oh, great.
Neither of which were great to get blasted in your face all day long.
Hynerian cream soap, definitely.
But Crichton at first doesn't even believe that Aeryn's there.
Yeah.
He says, you're dead. He thinks he's just being forced to imagine something again until she, like, asserts that she's there.
Oh, no, you're gone.
It's me, John.
No, it can't be you. Some kind of mind trick. She died.
Zhaan brought me back. She did a Unity thing.
Sam. Sam?
He makes this noise.
And you'd almost think he's like lost his speech again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's saying you're alive, but it's so garbled. He's so desperate and passionate and just clings to her and clings to her. So tight.
Yeah. Oh, but turns out that Scorpius isn't dead.
Plainly, Officer Cobra overestimated his piloting skills.
Because he was not on board the Marauder. He did a little bait and switch.
Yes.
He's still got the little memory chip.
And a brand new Gammak base with hundreds of techs waiting
so.
to get started.
And they're just like laying low. Grunchlk is still frozen.
Tokot is dead.
Tokot is dead. And they're just waiting for the crew of Moya to depart.
They depart in sort of comfort and style. Like, at this point, I don't know if Krace knows that Aeryn's alive. Like, he must have starburst immediately after destroying the Marauder.
Yeah. Because there's a mention that they starbursted out and they and Moya confirmed that the Marauder was dead. That kind of leaves me wondering about the command carrier. Wouldn't like the command carrier start to pursue Moya at this point?
Oh, I think that was the thing that Krace said, that he's going to draw the command carrier away.
Oh, yeah,
and give them a chance to escape.
That they were more of an interesting target than Moya.
I mean, as far as anyone knew, they had just destroyed Scorpius.
Yeah.
Because for this ruse to work, Scorpius would probably have informed the command carrier that he was on the Marauder as well.
That makes sense.
Yeah, right? I mean, always assume that your channels are compromised.
Right, and also the communication was clearly sounding like it was coming from the Marauder.
Braca was so pleased with himself when Scorpius said, oh, apparently Officer Cobrin overestimated his piloting abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
Braca's like, oh, well, I knew that all.
I knew that. He was rubbish. I'm still the best one. I'm the best boy.
Aeryn and John finally get their proper scene. We get a bit of a recap of the affectionate scene that we had in Daimi Dichotomy, except this time John is actually in command of his own senses.
Yes.
I love you.
I love you too.
He actually says that he loves her. He hears her say it. They kiss. It gets very heated.
And then we find out what's been Aeryn's problem the entire time, where it's her peacekeeper training that will not allow her to pursue a relationship.
We will not act on it.
Aeryn.
My peacekeeper training was right about one thing. Soldiers and emotional attachments. In battle, they distort your thinking.
We're not in battle, Aeryn.
So I think it's not necessarily won't allow, but like she's allowed herself to sort of step past her training.
Mm-hmm.
But recent experience has shown her why those rules exist. And specifically, she blames herself for the consequences of her resurrection. Okay, this is where John finds out the price of her resurrection, which is that Zhaan is going to die.
Yes.
Zhaan has given up her life in exchange for Aeryn's.
Yeah.
And Aeryn realizes that this is a consequence because of her feelings for John.
Yes, because Zhaan kind of mentioned this when they're sharing Unity, about that, because she shared Unity with John as well, that she now knows how they feel for each other, I suppose. And she's like giving up her own life in order to make that possible.
Why are you doing this?
Because I love you. More importantly, Crichton loves you.
Which seems then kind of weird for Aeryn to reject that.
Aeryn says,
I will not be the cause of any more deaths because my judgment was faulty. I will not permit anyone else to sacrifice their life for mine.
Because of the lack of my judgment or for whatever. So even though they clearly do love each other, she says that they can't act on it because...
But that seems like throwing away Zhaan's sacrifice to me.
She doesn't want anybody to make... I mean, I'm with you, right? Of course, but like... Aeryn, at least what she's saying, she doesn't want this to happen again.
Yeah.
She's got her life back, and so does John, but she still blames herself and doesn't want it to happen again. Oh, but it's part of the sort of estrella novella melodrama. You can't just... Like, Lois and Clark really tanked once they were together and sort of happy, and so we know...
we can't have that.
Exactly. They've always got to be, will they or won't they? I almost said willies or woodies.
So there's a little bit of a drawn-out moment where Zhaan is like in Stark's arms, who's just like in the previous episode kind of proposed to her to like share their lives together, more or less.
He's nursing her while she's lying back. It looks very sort of like a Victorian painting of a...
It is, yeah.
And a lady in repose.
So I'm going to say that this is going to be another one of those like drawn-out things. Like it's being
3-digit bets. Nothing shorter than the 3-digit bet. You've
3
clocked
digits?
it. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, okay. I'll put 150 down on the fact that this Zhaan's dying isn't going to turn out to be such an acute thing as it's made out to be here now. It'll probably be like a...
So are you saying that she won't die immediately?
Yes.
What are you saying? It's going to be something testable.
No, I get that.
Is what I'm looking for. Because I'm with you. It's a good one.
Yeah, it's going to... Okay, so it's going to turn out that it's going to be like she is now dying, but it is going to be a drawn-out wasting process rather than I'm going to be dead in like 3 or 4 days.
I will accept that.
Yeah.
Do you want anything more?
Oh,
what else do you see?
Right.
Do you see sort of happening?
I'll put another 100 on top of that is going to involve a quest. Oh, come on! I'm stacking these things here now. There's going to be some sort of find the Delvian to see what we can do about this problem.
The search for a solution.
Yeah, search for a solution is going to involve is going to be like find the Delvians.
Accepted. John and Aeryn.
John and Aeryn. Well, I think we just covered that. It's like they're going to be still pining for each other, and it's going to be like,
what's your bet?
What?
What's your bet? Like, how are you going to?
What's my bet? There's going to be more sexual tension and more like Aeryn keeping herself away from giving in to him.
Yeah,
for these reasons. But
there's no big.
Fair. This is going to be a recurring thing. I can't really put unless I'm going to say they're not going to kiss within a few episodes. But that's not a fun bet. So,
okay, let me ask this to you another way, because we have a whole season ahead of us, right? So these are the stakes and the conflict that's been set up early in this season. We know how seasons work. We know how they develop, how they're always working towards something. So let's talk about something that you're looking forward to seeing, or that you're sort of anticipating. You don't necessarily have to put money on it.
Yeah.
Be nice.
Yeah.
But what's a thing that you'd like to see that you're for Aeryn and John, or for whoever else?
Okay, let me think. So, Scorpius has the brain thing, so he can start working on his Gammak base on extracting the information from that. Meanwhile, Crace is off and running. He doesn't know that Aeryn's alive yet. So I think, first of all, we're going to go into a story arc, which is save Zhaan, because we've clearly we've clearly exchanged Aeryn's death and John's mental incapacitation for Zhaan is dying.
Yep.
So we've resolved the previous ones, and now we have the new tension arc brought in. It's like, Sherazade in her Thousand Tales, end every evening on a cliffhanger, so that people so that she will have to be granted another day's life to continue the tale the next day,
until her 1001st night, where she tells the tale of Scheherazade.
Yeah. As for other predictions for season 3, so we have one more thing that happened on the planet is that the possible donors, the Interons, got brought back with them to Moya.
That's right.
So so that I'll put down some money. I'm not going to put a 3-figure bet on that because Frelit.
That's it.
I'll put another 100 Farscape fun bucks on that.
That's my boy.
So either it's going to be a plot element, or they're going to be in addition to the cast.
How do you mean? What do you mean as a plot?
I mean,
what do you imagine?
Suddenly, they have some 2 frozen bodies of Interons. One's supposedly already dead, I think, because that's the one that got sacrificed to get Ben.
Yes, there were 3.
John, yeah.
There were 3,
right.
And one of them was euthanized, mercy killed, essentially, by
and I guess they
Stark.
left that one, and they took the other 2 back with them back to Moya.
Yes, there's now 2 Interon sickles.
So we're going to see those next episode. I mean,
that's
going to... Yeah, I don't think they're going to put those on ice for that long.
They're already on ice.
Well, yes. So there's that, and they might even be, I'm wondering if they're going to, make any additions to the cast. It doesn't seem like a way to do that. So I'll just think that, in my notes I said, are they plot or are they new cast? But I think they're just going to be plot. And other than that, Crace is obviously going to come back again.
You're putting money on that?
Of course he's going to come back. That's not a bet,
Okay, no, I respect that.
Of course Crace is going to come back with Talon. That's they're established characters, they're not going to not use them.
Okay, you know what? This is so fair. Actually, the bets are going to get harder because certainly, this far into the show, we have an idea of the rhythm and melody and structure of these stories, the kind of dramatic arcs that they take, and also the relationship between fan wishes, which is what we have, and how those are satisfied and
are not.
Yeah, for instance,
throw them some crumbs, but take away the rest of the loaf.
So it may be that these kind of bets are not really a good way for you to earn your primacy as a Farscape fan, because what seems to make sense is so obvious, maybe that it's not worth betting on, and then you'd be forced to like make crazy bets that even you don't really believe in.
Right.
So I have an alternative suggestion. And remember how last time during the season 2 wrap-up, we had the sort of fake ceremony where I handed you a printout of the book that hadn't arrived yet?
Oh, my.
It has actually arrived now.
Oh, dear. Oh, this looks fantastic.
On behalf of our supporters on Patreon, I've spent the leftovers of their contributions on the Farscape role-playing book,
game. Oh.
which I have not opened.
It looks fantastic. So it's kind of like mostly blue with Ben Browder and Claudia Black in orange print on the front side. John wearing his peacekeeper jacket outfit. Aeryn carrying her BFG.
Big Frelling gun, that's right.
Yes, this looks absolutely gorgeous. I'm like, and on the back we've got a full cast shot. No Scorpius though.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's on the back we have the promo photo for season 2.
Right, but Crace is on that, which I kind of like that they kind of introduce him. It's like, I suppose it's a bit of a foreshadowing that he's going to be not the villain anymore.
It's a nice way to include Lani Tupu, because Pilot is such an important part of the show.
I guess so, right.
I mean, he finally got added to the cast in the opening credits.
Oh, look at this. Like...
Okay, great podcasting, yes.
Scorpius in full show with a gun, which is actually quite unusual for Scorpius as well.
Yeah, I think we've seen it once before. All right, so...
Okay, so I'm just like quickly browsing through this, and I love that. I just opened the page of Zhaan, and I love the fact that they have her, a shot of her when she's like in the shadow depository.
Pirate Zhaan. Orala.
Yes. Oh, that looks amazing. I love that they picked that shot for this.
So what I was going to suggest is, I know that this book, besides having a sort of a D20 expansion role-playing game for Farscape, also has a lot of primers for, like, it has episode descriptions for season 1 and 2. It has lots of like details about these species and their traits and whatever. And I thought that maybe it might be fun, have a read through, and see if you can stump me.
Okay.
On some trivia, on an episode or whatever. Yeah, right?
I will definitely do that. That sounds fantastic. I mean, we have the Chapter 4, Uncharted Territories.
Oh, see?
I'm fairly sure that there's going to be some pearls of information in here, which will be very exciting to talk about.
This will be the first time that you have new Farscape knowledge to impart and to challenge me with.
Thank you to you, and thank you to all our Patreon subscribers who've made this possible.
Thank you so much.
She gives me a Woody.
She gives you the willies.
Willies and Woodies.
Oh, there's so much to choose from.
Yes. Oh.
Like, Willie, probably the finger-biting scene.
Oh, yeah, I can see how that would seriously give you the willies.
Yeah, right. My Woody is really, really difficult. I mean, Aeryn comes back from the dead with great hair. Really great hair.
That's fans blowing all over the place. It's amazing.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
I think mine's going to go to Dargo, who in Farscape Undressed was called E.T. Extra tentacles.
Yes.
He's having the most fun. Like, his response to the cold... Whoa!
Yeah.
One planet at a time. Yeah. Dargo is my MVP this episode. How about yourself? Willies and Woodies.
My Willie will have to go to the poor treatment of the doctor, Tokat. Like,
poor Tokat.
Tokat really gets the short end of the stick. Like,
gets brought back to life and killed
again. Yeah. So, I mean, not particularly Willie worthy, but I mean, the way they got burnt is kind of like,
it's gruesome.
Yeah.
Especially someone who's so kind and benevolent and sweet.
And my Woody will probably go to almost the opening scene, like the very the very exasperated and snippy getting Pilot, because I love it when Pilot gets tetchy. It's like that's just like, oh.
When I know something, you'll know it. Until then, leave me alone.
Is he always like that?
He's always so composed and kind, and like when he starts getting snippy, then you know that he's being like pushed.
Yes, that's fantastic. Actually, I mean, maybe my Woody should go to Lani Tupu in general, because he does snippy Pilot, and he also does enraged, vengeful,
Crace,
noble Crace.
It's an interesting point, because we kind of get to see a little bit of that same anger that he had towards John in the season 1, but now it gets focused on something else, and without the mental derangement, and now we get to see the full force of that when it's actually being focused rather than being
true.
Steered by strong emotions.
And also another scene where Crace is talking to Pilot, and you've got Lani Tupu Leviathan splaining to himself.
I like that word, Leviathan.
Thank you. See, I knew you'd come around to it. I just have to repeat it a few times. Although, wait, no. I've changed my mind. It's Lieutenant Cobrin and Braca.
Yes. Their little snippy, like Daddy Senpai loves me more.
Yeah, right? It's like the boy toy who sees someone in an even skimpier Speedo. I didn't know they made half Speedos. Walking up and, oh no, what am I going to do? Now I've got to put on my push-up bra.
Quarter Speedo ahead, Captain.
You piece of garbage. And that's the story so far, Farscape.
Please join us in 2 weeks' time with episode 302, Sons and Lovers. I love that, because it could be Sons and Lovers, or it says Sons as in sons, because Aeryn, Sons and Lovers, I suppose.
Yeah, it's with a U. That's what you're trying to say. Because
lovers,
there's also,
Sons and Lovers, but it's also going to be Sons and Lovers, which we have, like, Jothi and Chana. And
it could be whatever.
I love that title. That's fantastic.
It's also an Australian soap opera, you know? Sons and Lovers.
I did not know that.
Okay, well, fair enough.
Sorry.
In
which religious zealots with a magnetic personality have our heroes taking a vent walk in which a release of fluids is tabled but not taken up.
Thanks to Sarah for that one.
Okay, that one has me stumped. But, I mean, religious zealots, that might be... That might be some Delvian priests again, but...
Oh, well, it should be interesting. I mean, it was written by Justin Monjo, who's written a lot of our favorites so far. So that'll be in 2 weeks. Next week, we'll have another fun Farscape fanfic for you. If you want to submit a synopsis for an upcoming episode, you can do so at sofarscape.com/submit. And if you want to contribute to our Farscape fund, I guess, to help us keep the light on, you can sign up for our Patreon at soulfarscape.com/support. And as always, we promise that if there's anything left over, we will use it for absolute nonsense, such as the role-playing book. Once again, thank you to all of our supporters. I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay.
So Farscape, so good.